You thought you could put tuna and chips on a pizza. You thought there would be no repercussions. You were wrong. Welcome to Motorsport 101.
That intro went places I never thought I'd expect it to. You'll love to see it. Hey guys, Dre here. Welcome to episode 262 of the Motorsport 101 podcast. And this is going to be the second part of a doubleheader where we're going to talk about everything that wasn't in the Monza, directly in the Monza weekend anyway, because there's a lot of news to get through, a lot of little things to break down in the next 45 minutes or so. And with me, we've got RJ O'Connell still celebrating Minardi's greatness.
Yes, it's still happening. It's still a thing. Peep it. Yeah. Pierre Gasly is still a Grand Prix winner. AlphaTauri still have as many wins in the Italian Grand Prix over the last 12 years as Ferrari does. Helmut Marko still doesn't know how to manage talent. I'm off my soapbox.
Was he ever on it? Like, honestly. King is back. Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm back to be the bearer of bad news? ? Good news?
Depends how you want to read it. We got a lot of ups and downs to get through this week. And we've awoken him from his slumber. Cam Buckley, hello, sir.
Hello, everyone. I thought I would do my best Michael Jordan impression by eating something that made me very, very sick. Unfortunately, instead of playing, or rather showing up on the last episode, I just went and passed the fuck out.
Damn, I didn't know that they DoorDash from Salt Lake City to New Hampshire.
Be surprised.
Must have been an Amazon Prime delivery. It's just one of those things, I guess. Gets across the country in 2 hours.
Yes, food poisoning, powered by AWS.
Oh,
God. Yeah. Was Heikki Kovalainen a delivery driver? Apparently he's quite quick these days.
Quicker than Valtteri Bottas.
That's not saying much, really. Anyway, on this episode, we're going to talk all about Williams and, I guess the changing of the guard in one of Formula One's greatest marks. We're going to be breaking that down. We're going to be talking about a rebranding over for our new French friends at Renault and how Renault will not be on the name next year. That'll be interesting. A news story that broke about 2 hours ago, in real time was when we were recording this on Monday, September 9th, or Wednesday, I should say, sorry. Sergio Perez will not be at Racing Point next year, so we'll get into that and the permutations that come with that. We'll talk about a big surprise in IndyCar, well, not really a big surprise, but a actual official bit of news that a NASCAR legend will be hopping over for a few rounds next year, and the year after, as a matter of fact. And we'll be talking a little bit of World Superbikes as well to wrap up the show from the second round at Aragon, as we got another shock winner. Maybe not quite on Pierre Gasly levels of surprise, but it's a man on a Ducati that isn't what you think he is. More on that in the next 45 minutes or so. But basically, you can find us in the interim. We're on youtube.com/Motorsport101. We are on Facebook.com/Motorsport101. We're on Twitter at Motorsport_101, and our personal handles are on the screen right now, but also in the description down below at Harrison101HD, at RJ O'Connell, at Ryan Eric King, and at CBuckley917. Check them out if you haven't already. As said, the official podcast Twitter at Motorsport_101. And if you really, really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon, patreon.com/Motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all of our shows. $10 gets you in the supporters club of our Discord server, where you can listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded and get early access to all the video podcasts a day before we release them to the public as well. That and a whole lot more on there as well. On our website as well, motorsport101.com as well. And by the time this goes up, there'll be a written piece by me on Pierre Gasly, so that'll be fun as well. But without further ado, let's get into the news. And, we got a big one to start off with. This was a bit of a shock. I mean, going into the Monza race weekend, I think it was on Thursday or Wednesday, it was officially announced. But the end of the Williams team as we know them, as Claire announced that she and her dad Frank would be stepping away from the team after the Italian Grand Prix. So this Grand Prix we just had will be the last, as we know it, with the Williams current team structure and management. And Claire steps down as deputy team principal. Frank, obviously, is team principal himself, and Mike O'Driscoll, the CEO of the team, all leaving the sport altogether, effective now, given we've had the race weekend. A quick side note as well, we've got Simon Roberts taking over as new deputy team principal in the interim, at least till the end of the year, by the looks of it. Gentlemen, I mean, what more can you say than, first and foremost, the change in identity of one of the sport's most legendary teams?
It's stunning. It's not just the end of one era for Williams. The family, the team that have been involved with this team going back before the Williams Grand Prix that we know now, because this wasn't Frank Williams' first attempt at running an F1 team. He'd been involved in lower formula. He'd had an F1 team before as a customer car fielder. The team that we now know started up in the late 70s, had all those great successes throughout the 80s and especially in the 90s. Growing up, Williams were the first dominant team that I knew through that run in the mid to late 90s with Renault engines, with Rothman's colors, with Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve, all that good stuff. And obviously they've fallen on hard times, and that's kind of endemic of where Formula One stands right now. They were stubbornly, to a fault, the last of the truly independent teams. And they wanted to stay that way for as long as they possibly could. But the shitty reality is that it's just not possible for them to keep pace the way in which they wanted to operate. And it had been that way for quite a while. It was really stunning to see that news come in. First that Claire was leaving, then the whole Williams family was leaving, effective at the end of this weekend.
Yeah, because it wasn't confirmed, but the rumor going around was, Claire said that they asked her to stay, and she said no, and the rumor is that they asked her to stay, but her father couldn't be nominally team principal anymore, that she would have to run the team on her own, and she said no.
She wasn't going to effectively stab Frank in the back like that. Wasn't going to happen.
No, she loves her dad. She adores her dad.
And I think RJ touched on it. I think this was almost an inevitability with the way, as soon as we heard that Dorilton was purchasing Williams, I thought instantly there's going to be big management changes. Because over the last, since Williams dropped from competitiveness, obviously they lost their deal with BMW after that partnership promised so much, came close, but never quite achieved what it could have.
Yeah, and,
it's just been a revolving door.
On that note, BMW wanted more involvement, and Frank said no.
Yeah, and since those days, it's been a revolving door of management, of technical expertise, and nothing works. And if you keep working through facilities and you keep running through lower level people, problem is probably higher up. And I think the way they wanted to run a Formula One team it just wasn't viable anymore, and it hasn't been viable for years.
Yeah, I think
hybrid... they really nailed 2014. They had an excellent car. They had, you look at 2013, we thought that was as low as things could go because they were dumping everything into the hybrid era. But even when Williams began to fall again, 2016 was rough, 2017, small improvement, 2018 is where the bottom fell out. They weren't that low on the Formula One financial chart.
No, they had money.
They were middle of the road when this fall that they're only just now starting to recover from began.
It did feel partly like the hybrids was the last death sentence. I still remember to this day 2014 where they talked about, I think it was after Malaysia, And I remember Claire talking at length about the situation with the new hybrids and said, look, these hybrids have got twice as many moving parts as the V8s before them did. And she said, candidly, the running costs were double what they were during the V8 era. And even though they built a very competitive car first time out of the box, they were challenging for wins, they were semi-regularly on the podium. I always had a
They probably should have won. They probably should have won at Austria and instead sacrificed the chance at a win just to get points on the board. Because remember, the previous year, they had single-digit points.
Yeah.
Though, you talk about the running costs for the hybrid being so high. Mercedes offered them a lifeline. Like, running costs wouldn't have been an issue if they were, somewhat of a B team to their engine supplier. But they said no.
Right.
Even beyond just being a B team, before they became the most B of B teams in Racing Point, Force India had no money. And that was clear. We watched the team quite literally die in 2018 and be reborn.
Yeah.
And yet, every year after not so much 2015. 2015, Williams was still riding that high, but obviously Ferrari had jumped them in the queue. 2016, 2017, Racing Point was, Force India at the time was drinking their milkshake in the midfield on a shoestring budget.
Not a great look. It seems the general pattern has been that sometimes their technical department has been excellent. They've had ups and downs where that's been concerned, but maybe their stubbornness from the very top, maybe from Frank wanting to do things his way and to run the team his way, quite sadly, might be what ultimately did him in terms of, the team as a whole.
It's the approach that gave them so much for so many years. But you remember, they more or less shoved Adrian Newey out the door at the end in the middle of 97, and there was already signs that, okay, maybe this wasn't such a good idea when Ferrari was mowing them down in the second half of 97.
Yeah,
and it's never been the same.
In more recent times, where money is kind of the big, get a second chance card. If you go down a development path, if your development department gets something wrong and you make a big mistake, money is always a big fallback to say, hey, we could develop a different solution to try to get around this and somewhat catch back up. But Williams didn't have that security. If you make a mistake, that mistake is made.
Well, look at, the last time they really had money like that. Look at 2004, and just visually, how different the car was from the first race when we think, man, Williams really fucked us up. They dumped everything into the walrus nose, and Ferrari's just out here beating them with a steel chair. By the end of 2004, they completely redone the car, and it wasn't half bad. But even then now, the nature of Formula One with the limited testing, and of course the cost cap coming in, we need to see how the concessions work in practice, because in current F1, if you go down the wrong path, you're not allowed, even if you have the money, and Ferrari is a screaming example of this right now. But you're not allowed to fix it now.
No, you're not allowed to fix it during the season, but the thing is, you can on off. Yeah, it's next year you get a chance to somewhat correct it, and it's for Williams, it's compounding. If you make a mistake one year and then you get an opportunity next year and you make a mistake another year, and it compounds and it gets worse and worse and worse.
And they don't have the money to spend and develop their way out of that hole, even if they could. It kind of reminds me of how, in English soccer, so many top teams with so many wealthy owners control the landscape, and you have teams lower down in the football ladder that are taking on unsustainable levels of debt to the point that they are on the brink of, or in some cases, completely shut down.
Yeah. Oh, saying goodbye to them was hard this weekend. I don't know if you saw.
The Williams family. It's been around in Formula One more than it's not been around.
For 50 years, ever since Frank Williams was fielding cars for the Lake Pierce Garage, it was kind of the one person that, kept Frank going through much of those early years. Because, I guess that was kind of the impetus for him wanting to do things his way, for better and sometimes for worse. And you could tell in the post-race comments, and George and Nicholas were on the radio saying goodbye to Claire and everybody else, and that the way that they talked did not sound like a team that hated working under Claire, hated working under this management. I saw
I don't know. Like, do we really have to go through all the times? Like I'm genuinely sad to see them go. But even in recent years, before Russell and Latifi, we shouldn't have to go through all the moments where people did not enjoy working at Williams in just the past 5 years.
I say, Paddy Lowe, who has a shining career as a Formula One technical director, he had 2 years at Williams, and that whole reputation is in the drink. And I debate whether it really should be. And I think it says more about Claire and Frank as people, the comments, rather than as people. There's not a bad word that anyone has to say about them. As management,
yeah.
I put that as cynical as it sounds. I put it more on Sir Frank, because a lot of people were willing to come out of the work and saying, including one Williams story, and saying, oh, Claire doesn't know how to run a race team, and she never did. But nobody was saying this in the 4 straight years that her team was picking up podiums, which is a lot more than what any team sponsored by Rich Energy has ever attained and will ever attain.
Yeah, like, to a fault, Claire was always willing to be the face of Williams and take unrelenting amount of flack that maybe Frank should have gotten in the last couple of years.
Keep in mind, deputy team principal was just that. She was deputy to Frank. Frank made all the final decisions.
Yeah.
Of course. And I think a lot of people forget that when talking about Williams, especially now, especially given the hinted talk from a certain bearded idiot that happens to an energy drink brand that still keeps running his fucking mouth. But hey, here we are.
It doesn't help that in terms of perception, the other last female team principal we had didn't acquit herself that great. Sorry, Guido.
It's not ideal, but some key numbers: 739 Grand Prix for Williams, 114 race victories in the end, 128 pole positions in 16 World Championships. If you haven't seen it already, check out Williams on social media. They've been very open with the fact that this is their last race of their modern era. There is a heart-rending video about their history on there on the Twitter that it hits you right in the feels. I'll give you a minor
it does hit you in the feels, but Williams, the team, aren't going away. Just new management. No. They're still going to be around.
And hopefully that new management, and I believe Simon Roberts has a pretty good record at McLaren, is fairly well respected within the paddock.
They got a new board. It's got Matthew Savage and Darren Fultz. James Matthews used to race. Graeme Lowdon's involved in this somehow. Isn't one of them related to the royal family?
I believe one of them is married to Pippa Middleton.
Yes, James Matthews is.
See, I read my glossy magazines.
But yeah, Graeme Lowdon is a consultant at I believe at one of Matthew Savage's other companies. I think it was a lot of wishful thinking that people wanted Lowdon to be the new team principal.
I wanted him involved in the day-to-day running of the team. And so did many others, to be fair.
Maybe, because, again, Roberts is technically just interim team principal. It could happen, but, don't get your hopes up expecting this to happen.
So my question is, do you think that this new ownership group is here to stay in the long term, or are they just going to try and see if there is a market to sell this team as soon as possible?
I don't think there is a market to buy Williams.
I don't think so either, and I think a lot of it's going to depend on what they can get out of this year, because now they've got plenty of cash. Rest of this year and next year is going to be a big test for Dorilton.
It's going to be a big rebuilding process, and they'd be stupid to throw away the name, because I think that's what a lot of people were cynically wondering. New ownership, they're going to turn Williams into Dorilton F1 team.
Smart car F1.
But the thing is, that's Williams' most valuable asset. The team name and the heritage of the team.
All those championships. Yeah, you don't get historical payouts anymore, but I don't know if sponsors are going to be willing to sign on just because you changed the name of a team that's been struggling for the past few years. It'd be as stupid as that whole Tigers proposal.
Yeah. Ask Lewis about that one. But I think King's absolutely right.
Liverpool Red Sox.
Yeah, I fuck off. No, but oh dear. Like, Cam's not even a soccer man and he hates it, and he supports Boston, for Christ's sake. No, it's
But
yeah,
guys,
I think King's
what do
right.
you mean? What do you mean they have the advanced engineering?
Yeah, like a lot of their bigger stuff has already been sold off. I hope it's not one of these situations where the team just takes what assets it's got and then, sells them again for someone else. And
sell them again to someone else for what? Like, Williams' only value. They are solely a racing team. If they're not racing, they're not making money.
Yeah, right. The Williams company, as it stands right now, is the racing team and the racing team only, as well as who the fuck are you selling an F1 team to for a profit in this global economy?
In this economy?
Based on the people involved, this venture capital group want to own a Formula One team.
Yeah,
right.
Well, we've seen that in the past, and then they see how expensive F1 is, and they realized their eyes were a lot bigger than their stomach.
Was this
happens in
basically Lotus the Third? Comes to Lotus
the Third, Lotus / Team Lotus / Caterham.
Second.
Call is F1.
Caterham had money. Remember that.
No, yes. As a matter of fact, they didn't, because all of it was going elsewhere and not into the team.
I'd say the owners had money. They just didn't want to spend it on what they should have.
Hi, Airbus.
Yeah. What do you mean they weren't spending money on Johan Zarco in Moto 2? But, no, you're absolutely right. I hope it's more than just a rebrand, and I hope it's not just selling it on. I think King's right. I don't think there's a market for a quick resell like other companies have done before, or other places and other sports have done before. I just hope they're in it for the long haul, and I hope the team can be kept afloat, because remember, this is a team that's already had to make redundancies earlier this year. I never like taking pleasure in hearing people losing their jobs. I know it's in a good market, but redundancies are redundancies. They suck.
This is the team that more or less they bet their whole property and all the historic F1 cars.
Yeah, they sold they sold the crown jewels as collateral. So fingers crossed, the Williams team can be kept afloat in whatever capacity it is. And a salute to Frank and Claire, and wish them all the very best on whatever they choose to do next.
Yeah, no matter what you think of Williams, they are woven into the DNA of Formula One, and they always will be. Mm-hmm. They are one of the dynasties and defining families of an entire class of motorsport.
Yeah, and they'll be permanently etched into the history of the sport. And a salute to Frank and Claire, wishing them all the very best. Now, moving from a potential rebrand into a definite rebrand, because this was an interesting one that came through on Friday. The Renault's Formula One team will not be known as the Renault Formula One team next year. It will be known as the Alpine. Is it Alpine or Alpine? I've got to get this confirmed.
It's Alpine.
Alpine.
We're putting the peen in Alpine.
Big Peen. Yes, so it'll be known as the Alpine Formula One team, and I can tell you for free, King was immediately excited when he found out they'll be bringing back the tricolor colours next year by the looks of it. And,
just paint it, for the love of God, just paint it the right blue color.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Hey, King, I've
Alpine blue is best blue.
King, I've got a question. Would you like for me to take over the banana bets? And if so, is there a way that you could borderline get blueberry poisoning? Because I've got an idea for 2021.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
Maybe into 2022.
I have an idea as well.
This is...
let's get them all out there in this ideas forum known as the Motorsport 101 podcast tonight. I mean, yeah, what ideas are we thinking here, people?
I'm thinking, now, obviously, due to current outstanding global situations, we can't really all meet up at a sports car race early next year. We'll see what happens mid-year.
Yeah.
But in the event that we end up meeting up after Alpine by Renault E-Tech has won, we get to blueberry pie King's face.
Oh, God.
No, don't give it to King.
I
will take the fall for this. I will take the blueberry pie.
But you both can.
Blueberry pie shoved in Kai's. I want a blueberry pie shoved in King's face. Like, after all the bets and wagers we've made over the last 6 years, I want to see that face covered in blueberry. I want to. Like, what is it going to take, King, for this bet to happen?
I'll do it. Like, if it
Only
Yes!
if I get part of it too.
Yeah.
I am obliged as the internet's #1 Fernando Alonso fan, new #1 driver of the Alpine F1 team, to take part of this bet. Please.
Though, it would have to be...
I will fall in the grenade for King.
It would have to be that before we potentially meet up, which on paper it seems like it's gonna be the 6 hours of the Glen. So if they can't get a podium before the end of June, this bet's not gonna happen.
Look,
is there any water near Watkins Glen?
Yes. Watkins Glen is literally by a lake.
I propose a spear in the fashion of Roman Reigns if this cannot be met.
Blueberry pie. Just blueberry pie.
I want a spear!
But yeah, all blueberry-based bets aside, I'm happy to see it. Because
cool.
it's been odd that Renault, the alliance, just doesn't seem to acknowledge that Alpine exists in some parts of the world. When
they've got a really good LMP2 team in endurance racing.
Oh, you mean that team that has no relation other than sponsorship to the alliance, because LMP2 has spec engines.
Yeah, and it's sort of a situation where the team had to rebrand because in light of recent events, in terms of Renault having to be bailed out by the French government and them having to lay off a massive amount of workers, the last time that happened...
And we can't forget, Carlos gonna do crime.
Oh yeah, Carlos gonna do crime, that too.
That too, that minor factor.
So basically, Renault wants to continue their involvement in Formula 1, but they want to distance them participating in Formula 1 from the rest of the company, because
it's not a good look.
It's not a good look, and it's happened before, and a lot of bad things happened the last time they continued in F1 after they took a government bailout and had to lay off a whole bunch of workers.
You see, it's a double whammy. They get to promote their performance brand, and they get to distance their primary brand when all the people are like, wait, you just took a bailout and you're dumping how much money into this?
And the CEO doesn't have to get assassinated like the last time.
Oh,
God.
I was about to
lower the tone, King.
I was going to use this to transition in Alpine's history performance cars from the A110 to the A310. Obviously, all their own two programs, but Kane just kind of blew it all out of the water here.
Yes, because because in terms of the Renault Sport side of things, there was direct action against Renault, whether it be when Alan Prost decided to lead the team, Renault factory workers firebombed his new Mercedes, or the time that two anarchists assassinated Renault CEO. So, Renault want to distance their performance brand from the rest of the car company. It's seeming closer and closer that Renault Sport as a whole just might be rebranded as Alpine, but that time will tell if that will actually happen.
I'm kind of surprised it hasn't happened yet, because Alpine as it stands has one car.
Yeah.
Which,
the
by the way,
on Top Gear.
No, don't speak of it.
And also, I should mention, probably Renault Sport wants to hold off on that since we're in the middle of Formula Renault's 50th season.
Oh,
yeah. Formula Alpine.
Formula Alpine.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
It's a great
Of course,
name.
Alpine as their own company, effectively, before they became fully integrated into Renault. Very successful in rallying. Won Le Mans in 1978 in collaboration with Renault.
Good stuff. Right.
Gorgeous.
Again, just paint it in Alpine blue, and I am fine with it.
I'm here for it. And then me and King get blueberry pies to the face when Fernando Alonso leads the Alpine F1 team to glorious victory throughout some point in the 2021 season. I have got great feeling.
And then RJ turned off his copy of F1 2021.
My man.
I woke up afterwards. Now, this is a big story. This came through about 2 hours before we started recording this episode, in a shock that came directly off the man's Twitter page. Sergio Perez will be leaving Racing Point at the end of the season. A statement that was put out on his Twitter. I'll pull it up real quick and give you the full quote. At Checo Perez, of course. Quote, "Hi all, everything in life has a beginning and an end, and after 7 years together, my time with the team will come to an end after this season. It hurts a bit as I bet on the team during very rough times. We managed to overcome obstacles, and I am very proud of saving the jobs of several of my teammates. I'll keep the memories of the great moments lived together, the friendships and the satisfaction of always giving my all. I will always be grateful for the opportunity given to me by Vijay Mallya, who believed in me in 2014 and allowed me to continue my F1 career with Force India. To the current administration led by Lawrence Stroll, I wish nothing but the best in the future, especially with the upcoming Aston Martin project. I don't have a plan B. My intention is to continue racing here, but that would depend on finding a project that motivates me to continue giving my 100% in each lap. I want to thank each one of you who have been with me throughout these 10 years, to my family who has always been there to support me despite anything, to all the sponsors who believed in my project, to my staff, and mainly God, who blessed me with the opportunity to live this incredible adventure called F1. I hope I can give you some good news real soon, but for now, let's enjoy the next races. I carry you in my heart, Sergio Perez."
Racing's a cruel fucking business, man.
Bombshell. And this,
is it really a bombshell?
Hours. What was that, Trey?
Is it really a bombshell, though?
No.
Yes, no, kind of, because this was only hours after Otmar Safnauer explicitly said, our drivers were set for next year 2 years ago.
Yes.
Man was lying to everyone's face.
Yes, because Sergio Perez has a 3-year contract, which he's only in year 1 of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he signed it last year.
Now, we mentioned it earlier on in the year that while Checo did finally get the big 3-year extension he always wanted, because previously he was on a string of 1-year deals year to year at Force India that would later become Racing Point. He'd been given 1-year deals rolling throughout the year. and he finally got the big 3-year extension. However, we mentioned it earlier in the year, it had a weighty buyout clause that he could be bought out for the rest of his contract to be released at the end of this current season if they were willing to pay out the rest of his contract, which apparently was in the region of around £9 million, according to German media.
Damn,
so,
that's you could buy like 1/70th of a Lionel Messi for that kind of money.
I know.
That is
Great value.
An enormous pile of McChickens.
Yeah. Hi, Sasha.
Yeah.
Because...
Hi, Sasha. Nice to see you.
Oh.
We love you, buddy. But racing's kind of cruel because we covered it Checo basically put the team into administration to save a bunch of jobs when Force India, as we knew it, went bust and became Racing Point.
Right.
Yeah.
That was his biggest contribution to the team. And after still delivering solid performances, he has kind of been pushed out the door.
We kind of know for who at this point. Yeah. We kind of know. And I think it's a shame because Perez has been the defining driver of this team in its many iterations for almost the last 2 decades.
Yeah,
if he's been around for 2 decades, I mean, it feels like he's been around that long.
But in terms of the team itself, when they were Jordan, and then they were Midland, and then Spiker, and then Force India. He's been like the icon of this team more than any other driver for a very long time.
He is a stellar driver.
Even though
he was pushed out in a really shitty situation.
Again, not many people get to choose to leave Formula One. Most people are let go, and Sergio Perez has already had a very long career in F1 terms. This is his 10th season in the sport.
Yeah.
I think it's his 10th season.
Yeah, I pretty much, I don't want to say have come to terms, because if Perez leaves, I don't, to me, he's had a full career. I've seen him at his highs and his lows. Obviously everyone wants to at least get one race win.
Came close.
He came so damn
2
close.
times. 2 times in 2012 where he was going blow for blow in pissing rain with Fernando Alonso.
Yeah. And then he almost came back and won the Italian Grand Prix on pure strategy alone. Mm-hmm. That was the year that Checo really arrived.
And the next year, of course, he goes to McLaren right as the bottom falls out as far as their technical department.
Yeah, he could have been out of the sport after that point.
Yeah, right as the bottom fell out, and then he was sacrificed to bring up Academy driver Kevin Magnussen, who then got a podium in his first Grand Prix. He himself was then sacrificed for Fernando Alonso's return. It's F1 works in strange and mysterious ways. As King alluded to, 10th season. I think if he sees out the full year, which he most likely will, I think he'll be in the 200 club for Grand Prix, which is a pretty rare club as it is in F1. I know there's more races nowadays per year than we got previously, but still 200 Grand Prix is a crazy club. There's a lot of open speculation out there. As we're recording this, I've already seen guys like Chris Medlin mention that a certain someone in Ferrari is set to make an announcement on their future tomorrow. So by the time this goes out, you probably already know what's about to happen. Maybe we'll be back next week for it. We'll catch up after that.
Well, you need to also remember that this will be Aston Martin next year.
Mm-hmm.
Aston Martin obviously is more than a Formula One team.
Yeah,
our factory brand. They want to have big factory heft and money, and going after the guy who we think they're going to sign.
More than that, think of, you just got a multiple-time Formula One world champion, wink wink, as your new big brand ambassador for your road cars.
For probably the rest of his life.
Yeah, because keep in mind, and I will maintain this, when Ferrari chose not to re-sign this certain driver, Ferrari lost their biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
all aboard the Aston Martin train.
Oh man, is it
Mika
too
Hakkinen.
late? Is it too late for a cameo in No Time to Die?
He would make a great Bond villain. I really do. We need him in an epic car chase. Maybe as the villain's henchman, you can just have a silent role driving a car really quickly, and all the F1 fans can go, "That's Sebastian Vettel right there!" That would be really cool.
I'm sorry, Mr. Weber. I can't simply allow you to win this race.
Wouldn't be the first time you've heard that one. If this is the end for Checo, then he's had a great career, one of the better drivers of the last decade, the king of the midfielders, which is no disgrace at all.
It's going to depend on him, because by all accounts there's a lot of rumors that Alfa Romeo, the artist formerly known as Sauber, want him in the seat that they control, because Sauber controls one seat, Ferrari controls the other for their junior program.
Yeah, and he most
Raikkonen
likely won't be going to Haas because Sergio Perez's biggest backer has already been burned by Gene Haas and another driver, and just doesn't want to go through it again.
Yeah, that's outside factors that are going to put that to rest before it even starts.
And they're going to be eyeing up the Ferrari driver academy most likely, because Gene for the first time said they're willing to take a younger driver on next year. I wonder what could happen with 3 highly rated touted juniors beneath him.
3 and 2 doesn't go. It's the same thing here. Ideally, you would love to have a 3-car Aston Martin team with Vettel, with Perez, who is still good, and with Lance Stroll, who's in the best form of his life. Take all your daddy's money jokes aside.
In all of this. That's another factor in all of this, is that for those who bag on Lance Stroll, he is, as mentioned in the podcast episode I was not here for, he's best of the rest right now.
He's 4th in the standings. This is the form of his racing life.
Had he not blown the second chicane, he's a legitimate contender for victory in Italy.
Yeah.
Because
he's favourite to win that race.
Yeah, he's probably in the fastest car of the 3. And we've seen Lance Stroll, for some of his woes in qualifying, the Lance Stroll rich dad routine that we always hear. He's a damn good overtaker.
Yeah,
he really is.
And by the time, say Racing Point do sign that, multiple time world champion, by the time that world champion's done racing in the car and he leaves and gets replaced with someone else, Lance Stroll will be the new veteran driver at Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is he still might be under 25.
Yeah.
Sport works in strange and mysterious ways. Hope it's not the end of the road for Checo.
I hope so.
I wonder.
I don't think it will be. I think he's still too good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think he's still too good, and will have enough stock in his results to steal a seat at the death.
Yeah,
give him one more Mexican Grand Prix of his home fans, good health willing.
Yeah, that's always one of the best scenes every year.
Yeah, because Kimmy's at the end of his 2-year contract.
Kimmy's at the end of his career, let's be real.
Yeah, I don't think, he hasn't fallen off too much, but I think Sauber just want something new.
Mm-hmm. Raikkonen's, I feel like Raikkonen is pretty content either way about what happens, because, that's kind of his whole brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just plod along, as always, see what happens. Kimi Raikkonen is 41 in October. I mean, it's next month it'll be his 41st birthday. I don't think they'll be giving him another big extension. And let's be honest, if we're talking all about the hype of the Ferrari Driver Academy, the name that's first on the chopping block is going to be Antonio Giovinazzi. No doubt about that. And he's not been particularly great in Formula One, unfortunately.
Yeah. And he has improved this year.
Mm-hmm.
That much is clear, but he's still being outperformed by an ancient Finnish hobbyist at this point.
An ancient Finnish hobbyist.
Look, Kimi Raikkonen's just found an opportunity that fits him and fits his style perfectly.
Definitely. Whew, should we talk about IndyCar, boys?
Oh,
boom! Confetti!
Jimmie is here at last. Now, IndyCar is back this weekend at Mid-Ohio. We got the doubleheader. It's on the calendar this weekend. They're going to have a few thousand people. Mid-Ohio apparently wanted more, but you got to take what you can get. But who cares? Jimmie Johnson has a 2-year IndyCar deal with Chip Ganassi Racing. Honda superstar Jimmie Johnson.
Yep, street and road courses, and is open to doing the 500.
He's going to do the 500.
He's got to. That. You know what this kind of tells me about Jimmie Johnson?
He's bored with NASCAR?
I think it's less about wanting to retire and go home and more about, I really don't want to be in NASCAR anymore.
I think he's bored with NASCAR. I mean, the Southern 500 finish, that was fun. We had the two leaders take each other out stupidly.
Yay.
Martin Truex said, fuck them kids. Again. I love Martin Truex Jr. I've liked him as a driver, since he was a rookie in the artist formerly known as the Busch series. But it seems like he's increasingly getting involved in these low percentage moves where he just sends it, can't hold the line, and just cleans someone out.
But
congratulations on win number 57, Kevin Harvick, by the way.
Back on topic, Jimmie Johnson signing a 2-year deal does tell me he's committed at being good. This isn't like a retirement tour. He wants to
This
compete.
isn't cherry picking.
Yeah, he wants to compete.
Yeah, and as well, I think that Jimmie Johnson's driving style is famously unique in that he just wants the car loose as shit with tons of horsepower and control it on the throttle.
Oh boy.
And that is where he was so incredibly good for years in NASCAR. It's how he racked up championship after championship after championship, garnering hate from all the world.
Me included.
Yep.
I was one of those
young
people.
Me included, and NASCAR just isn't that anymore.
And yeah, this is
IndyCar very well may be.
This is a steal for not only Chip Ganassi Racing, but IndyCar.
Marketing.
But IndyCar as a
This
whole.
is huge.
Yeah, because
it's a huge marketing opportunity.
Because people forget that NASCAR, in terms of, by all measures, NASCAR is still 10 times larger than IndyCar.
Oh yeah, massive.
NASCAR, the NASCAR boom, despite having ended years ago, the residual effects of it are still very clear to see.
Yes, it's why we're going to have Auto Club Speedway becoming a half-mile short oval.
I don't want to get sick again.
No, it's fine. If anything, they need to go further and just take Texas Motor Speedway and turn it into a 7/8 miles oval that we can actually have good IndyCar racing on.
No, we should just take North Wilkesboro and push it somewhere else.
And push it to LA.
That won't happen. Look,
noted guest star of the North Wilkesboro 400, LeBron James.
Of course.
I like this move.
Yeah.
It's a great move. It's a great move for all parties. Jimmie stays interested. IndyCar gets a massive goddamn name in its series. One of the biggest names in North American motorsport. It's a win for all parties. And Chip, we all know, he likes winners.
Yep.
There's few people who win more than Jimmie Johnson in this modern era.
Not to throw any shade, but this is how Alonso should have done it.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh,
you see, you're not throwing shade if you're just simply stating facts.
Yes! Oh, God. Absolutely, dear God, yes.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see because Jimmie Johnson has flashes. The man ain't washed yet.
Yeah.
No, very curious to see how he gets
so even if he has throwback liveries for Darlington that are a little bit suspect.
What the hell was he doing with this? It's like a half Richard Petty, half Dale Earnhardt car that was made as a meme.
It's like a meme NR 2003 livery. And more than that, the 8 looked weird because if you use the Richard Childress font for the 8, the Wicked Witch of the South comes a-knocking.
Trey, just look at this thing. Just look at this and tell me what you think of this.
Hang on.
Okay.
We're going to have to put this... Yeah, King is going to have to put this in post.
Show.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like the first thing I saw was like RJ's picture of Fernando Alonso in bed with breakfast, and I almost had to claw my own eyes out.
Actually, no, that can just be the thumbnail of the show.
Is that from your personal collection, RJ?
That's for me to know and you to find out, buddy.
To be fair, that is a beautiful livery. That is
what?
He likes it. That's fair.
No, but the thing is, like, parts of it are beautiful, but when you put it together, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, this is a mashup of Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s, traditional 3 in black with
the Intimidator 3
with Richard Petty's, STP.
Yeah.
The thing is, for me, is they got that STP is a very specific day glow red color. And it's not that, and it's really bugging
No, it's me. Not. It's a little bit not that.
It's really like bugging me. You know what is? You know what was bugging me more? Don't.
Go on.
Don't go there. And what was bugging me more is that on the way to the grid at Darlington, Jimmie Johnson rocks up with a Richard Petty hat and Dale Earnhardt sunglasses.
That must be sacrilege in NASCAR terms.
This is that as a car.
This is that as a car.
You know,
it's
like
hilarious.
That would be like rolling up to a football game in a half and half of both sides of Manchester. Like that would get you killed in that town. Like no, you can't do that. Like,
no,
and even better than that was Hendrick running throwback of everyone is Jimmie Johnson. Chase Elliott was Jimmie Johnson. William Byron was Jimmie Johnson. And Alex Bowman, we have to talk about Alex Bowman, was Jimmie Johnson.
Even you, viewer, listener, you are Jimmie Johnson right now.
If you're playing NASCAR Thunder 2003 on the Xbox, you too can be Jimmie Johnson.
You love to see it. No, great move for the series. Great pull. Great move for all parties. We love to see it. I'll quickly run through World Superbikes because we had some fun. It was the second of the 2 Aragon race weekends, the Tyrol round, because we love regional we love regional second names in motorsport to fill all these double headers up. And we did get a big surprise winner in race 1 at Aragon, and it was a Ducati. But it wasn't Redding, and it wasn't the King of Aragon, Chaz Davis either. It was Michael Ruben Rinaldi.
Oh my God!
On the satellite Ducati that got the W in the end. He got the lead off of Jonathan Rea on the opening lap and did not look back. It was a beat him down on the Kawasaki rider. He was riding there was a bit of controversy here because Ducati were running the new extra soft experimental Pirelli that they were running that gave a lot of extra grip but also was designed to wear out quicker. The drop-off never really happened. And
they accidentally created a super formula tire.
Indeed. And Jonathan Rea did not experiment on this tyre. He was on the harder compound, and it showed. Rinaldi took off, basically didn't look back, and won pretty comfortably. And it was very, very cool, and great to see a new winner, a guy that
never scored a
before.
podium before.
Yeah, his best finish before this race was 4th. And never even had a podium in World Superbikes beforehand. And this is a guy that had come up from the Superstock 1000 category, the same category that Danilo Petrucci came up from years ago. And so, the Italians do like a good Superbike. And no, he won by 5.8 seconds. It was a dominant win, and it was a brilliant win. And it was a great win. It makes me sad that Rinaldi has less Twitter followers than I do, and so give him a bump if you haven't already. He's a great kid. He really is, and bless him. He bawled his eyes out when he heard the Italian national anthem when he was on the podium, and he was so emotional.
There was a lot more Italian national anthem than I thought there was going to be last weekend.
No kidding.
No shit, to say the least. And I love the little story he came over in the press conference after where he said, look, he told British Eurosport this when Matt Roberts was interviewing him. He said, look, I got a text from a number that I had never seen before. Turns out it was Valentino Rossi.
There you go.
For a friend of a friend that said congratulations on his first win. So that was, he said, oh, it almost made me cry again because my hero has sent me a text, which is pretty cool. I mean,
and he left that dude on red.
Oh, look, Pierre Pierre Gasly won in Formula One this past weekend, and he missed a phone call from Emmanuel Macron, the French president. So he missed a call from royalty, shall we say, in France. Michael Ruben Rinaldi gets a fantastic first victory in multiplex ahead of Jonathan Rea second, Chaz Davis third, and in case you're wondering, yes, that was Scott Redding that had a big DNF. He crashed out from third. He said he basically had wore his tyres out too hard, said he had no grip in the rear whatsoever, and just tucked the front and binned it.
This isn't the DNF that I remember from this race.
Oh, tell us more. Tell us more, Cam.
Just as multiple people in the call, as well as brother Ryan.
Yeah, my brother.
Not our Ryan, but Dre's Ryan.
Yeah, context here for the little bit of extra help. Brother Ryan, who sadly is next door, and I'd love to bring him in right now because it would be hilarious. He is the world's... Trust me when I say this, and these guys would know because he was up last year at Ducati when he was in MotoGP in Philippines, and he bawled his eyes out when this man finished in fourth. Just missed out on a podium in his one big return to MotoGP with the Ducati factory team. But he is the world's biggest Alvaro Bautista fan. Since he was in 125s years ago, like 2006, he's loved them. So.
Just as soon as everyone was starting to work the shaft and think, okay, Bautista, he's fighting for a podium, he might get it.
I miss this.
Brother Ryan is saying how much he loves Bautista right as Bautista's tumbling end over end into the gravel.
He binned it on the bottom chicane just before the back straight.
Folded the front.
Folded the front, down he went, 4 laps from the end. He was, again, as he's absolutely right, he was fighting Chaz Davis for a spot on the podium that point.
Because I wasn't here to say it earlier. Put the camera on me. Honda has won a Formula One race with both teams.
Yep.
The Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
British Superbike.
Yep.
We haven't mentioned it yet on the show, but the 24 Hours of Le Mans on debut for the new Fireblade.
Yeah, won the Ball d'Or.
And are fighting for podiums in World Superbike. But they aren't fighting for podiums in MotoGP.
2020, everybody. 2020.
Pain! All
pain.
I feel is
pain. Nothing but pain. Michael Rubinaldi on the podium ahead of Ray Davies, Van der Mark in 4th in the end ahead of Toprak, Alex Lowe's 5th, who was fighting a bad case of food poisoning pretty much all weekend. He just beat his old mucker and buddy Leon Haslam over the line for 7th.
Oh shit, did Alex Lowe's get that Utah pizza too?
Must have done. Eugene Laverty 8th, Federico Caracasulo 9th, and Tom Sykes rounding off the top 10. Also had to mention, if you haven't seen it on World Superbikes Twitter, go check out what happened after qualifying when Michael van der Mark and Sylvain Barrier got into a huge fight.
Road rash!
It was road rash on Twitter. I haven't got time to really go through it in depth, but check it out if you haven't already. It's funny as all hell. There's a British Eurosport version with Greg Haynes commentating. We love Greg on this show. Check it out as well.
I saw that. It was fucking hilarious.
It was him, but they had Julian Ryder in the commentary box this weekend, and Jules is broadcasting royalty, so it was awesome. It's going to be a nomination for the Fight Club Award and the Harry Awards later on. The Most 101 Awards. That's my old YouTube channel. Jesus. For the Most 101 Awards later on in the year, so that'll be great. Check it out. It's as petty as you would expect on that one. It was quite funny. Super Bowl race, Scott Redding would come back in the end and take revenge with a win there. Actually, I think it's the first time a Super Bowl race was not won by Jonathan Rea pretty much all season long. So, yeah, again, Redding ran the aggressive tyre. Jonathan Rea couldn't find a way past him, won by just over a second. Michael Ruben Rinaldi 3rd in the end, Bautista 4th, just ahead of Chaz in 5th. Lowe 6th, ahead of Toprak and Haslam in the top 8 on that one. That set the grid for race 3, and I have to admit, I know it's kind of boring to talk about how good Jonathan Rea is, a man that's already got 95 career wins, 96 now, if you see where this is going, in World Superbikes, but this was a masterclass in how to win a motorcycle race with an underpowered bike. He rode this beautifully. He was second for the majority of the race. He was fighting with Reddin to try and take the lead, and Ruben Rinaldi. Reddin, again, just he completely shot his tyres trying to stay with him. And Rinaldi as well. He passed Rinaldi at the corkscrew, didn't look back, and would win in the end by 1.2 seconds. It was a fantastic ride from Jonathan.
Yeah, we actually saw something. We saw something going into this weekend where Jonathan Ray is starting to copy riding techniques from Marc Marquez, which is like giving Ultra Instinct Goku the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, it is a problem. Yeah, he's actually throwing a lot more of his body off the motorcycle now these days, and he's actually wearing elbow sliders for the first time. So I think he's genuinely borrowed some of his game from Marc Marquez, and I know those two have a lot of respect for each other. They go back and forth on Twitter.
There is no kill like overkill.
Yeah, like, Jonathan's always had a lot of respect for Repsol Honda, even to this day, even though they kind of shafted him out of a MotoGP seat, they still are in regular contact, and then I know that Ray and Marquez are friends. Dear Lord, Jonathan Ray learning off Marc Marquez is a terrifying prospect for everybody else involved. But yeah, a stunning ride from him. Michael Ruben Rinaldi would finish in second to round off a pretty darn good weekend. A first, a second, and a third by the time it was all said and done. One podium trophy of each colour. You'd love to see it. Reddin was third in the end. Haslam up there in fourth for Honda. Good for him, because Bautista had another crash, unfortunately. He's clearly in mid-season Ducati form again. Lowe's 5th, Van der Mark 6th, Toprak 7th, Baz, who went from 15th to 8th, good ride for him, second of the independents, Caricasulo 9th, and Garrett Gerloff for the USA in 10th. Good points for the American. You love to see it. Eugene Lavity 11th, Melandri 12th, who sadly has left the Barney team effective immediately. That news came through this morning that Marco sadly is going into retirement. Again. We'll miss you, Marco. When bike racing's true entertainers. Sadly, no more in the Barney racing team. Xavi Flores 13th, Ferrari 14th, and Ramos in 15th.
Ferrari 14th? Some things really do stay the same.
Some things never change. Championship standings in Superbikes as we're halfway through the year now. Jonathan Ray with a 36-point lead in the championship now after Reddin's cataclysmic race 1 crash. Reddin's got a lot of work to do now from here. We know how Jonathan's not going to give up these points easy. He's on 243 to Reddin's 207. Toprak still third on 147. Already kind of becoming a 2-horse race for the championship. Chow's on 141. Van der Mark 133. And all of a sudden, up to 6th is one Michael Ruben Rinaldi on 131. He's climbed all the way up from 9th to 6th in one weekend. Great effort from him.
He'd never scored a podium before, and then he gets a win and a podium in one weekend.
First, second, and third. Yeah, one race 1, third in the Super Bowl race, second in race 2. So, and I've had a podium, 3 come along at once. He's basically a rider of the London buses. Great to see. A quick mention to World Supersport. Andrea Locatelli is still out here winning. He won both races again at Aragon to make it 9 in a row. I'm going to keep tabs on this because the prospect of a perfect season is something that I find very, very interesting. He beat Lucas Mahias in both races this time round to make it 9 on the bounce. He's a perfect 9 for 9 as we go past the halfway point in the year. But sadly, the weekend was marred with a very nasty incident at Turn 1 between Jules Clozel and Raffaele De Rosa in race 2. Raffaele De Rosa got his braking wrong into Turn 1 and unfortunately ploughed into the side of Jules Clozel on the opening bend. Clozel unfortunately broke both major bones in his leg in the incident. I know we joke on this show that it's never going to happen for Jules Clozel for the Supersport title, but just the man has just unbelievably wretched luck, and this is yet another one of those occasions where it's been taken out of his hands. That effectively ends the championship from a competitive standpoint. Get well soon, Jules. We like him on this show a lot. He's a great guy. Everybody loves him. He's one of those guys that everyone in I talk to in broadcasting for bike racing. They love Clazel. He's very honest, very open. Always gives a lot of time away to places and interviews and whatnot. And yeah, wish him a speedy one, because it was a nasty crash. Over 120 miles an hour in a braking zone, and his leg was collateral damage and a nasty one. So yeah, get well soon, Jules Clazel. Locatelli still leads that championship by 79 points. So yeah, it's looking, and now with Clazel out probably for the rest of the season, it's looking like it's really is Locatelli's championship to lose on that one. They'll be back at Catalunya, as well as Multiplex itself, on September 18th. First time back at Catalunya for a good while. Should be exciting to see how Worlds goes round there. Also, just before we get out of town, Ferrari breaking out a new livery for the 1000th Grand Prix this weekend at the quote Tuscany Grand Prix. It's a different shade of red. It's burgundy.
It's burgundy. It's going to look fantastic finishing in 12th and 15th if they finish at all. Now to move on to something actually good. IMSA. The Petite.
6 hours.
The 6 hours of Road Atlanta was pretty good. Ricky Taylor ascended. Helio Castroneves has still got it. Juan Pablo Montoya got sent so deep into the shadow realm, he may never come out.
Which is sad, because he's got the Le Mans 24 hours to do next week.
Yeah, he's gonna have to phone in a call out of the shadow realm. As a Porsche fan, fuck this year. Because no matter how many laps we lead, no matter how fast we are, something goes wrong.
It's fine. Big Mate won.
Yeah, Big Mate. All praise be the Big Mate. And for next year, LMP3 is being integrated into the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship.
Nice. You have Prototype Challenge at home again.
Prototype Challenge at home. Hopefully it works out better than that did.
Look, we got a lot going on. Tuscany Grand Prix. If we keep saying it's going to be bad and terrible, maybe it'll turn out great.
No, what I'm thinking is that so last year, Mercedes had their one big off race when they brought the anniversary livery. So I'm thinking if Ferrari are so bad and they have a throwback livery, it may cause a stack overflow in the universe and they might get a 1-2.
Or they miss 107% in all practice sessions and miss the race in qualifying.
That would be far more on brand for Ferrari this year. This car is a joke. It fucking sucks. It fucking fucks. It's a piece of shit, and I don't like it.
Damn it! Get out of my head.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, while half our podcast turns into the Angry Video Game Nerd Show, I think it's best I wrap it up while RJ keeps adding pictures of LeBron James to the set list. Thanks for watching, everybody, or for listening.
LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Shut up, Cam. On youtube.com/motorsport101 or on facebook.com/motorsport101 or on Twitter @motorsport_101 @Harrison101HD @RJ O'Connell @Ryan Eric King and @CBuckley917. And of course, you can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all our audio podcasts. $10 gets you in with our supporters club on our Discord server that lets you listen to these shows live as they're being recorded, and gets you early access to the video versions of the show a day before general release as well. Shout out to Tony, to Steve, to Vince, to Jason as well for tuning in and listening in. Hope you guys have liked both shows tonight. It's nearly midnight here in the UK, so I've been here for the long haul. So this has been a fun one. We'll be back next week to talk about so much the Tuscany Grand Prix at Mugello. Hopefully it's not a complete stinker. Also, more Italian action because MotoGP returns at Misano for their first of their 2 rounds this weekend. That should be good. Maybe Yamaha back on the top step with Fabio Quartararo. Although, no breaking news story. No Jorge Martin, most likely. Allegedly, he's got the Rona. Not good. Get well soon, Jorge, if that's the case. But until next time, I've been Andre Harrison. They've been RJ O'Connell, Ryan Eric King, and Cam Buckley. Until next time, See you in Tuscany. Sayonara.
Later, y'all.
Bye.
The Machina is not grand.
Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yours might be.
Italian Grand Prix winner, son. Let's fucking go.
Half of it was designed in Britain.
Who gives a shit?